Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. The presidential polls and the growing cracks within the opposition camp have once again demonstrated the elusive opposition unity to challenge the new pole of Indian politics, the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. In the last 8 months, two key issues, demonetization and presidential elections, have as much been a reflection of the BJP's astute politics as it has been about the failure of the opposition to find a common cause and stay united. The opposition unity will be put to the test once again over the presidential polls. While the opposition parties saw an opportunity in the run-up to the presidential polls to regroup and field a united candidate to oppose the government nominee, things took a turn with the NDA's choice of Ramnath Kovind. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar was quick to endorse his candidature and has stuck to his choice. This is, however, not the first time that cracks have appeared in the opposition camp. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will debate if the presidential election will test the opposition's unity. Joining me on the program today are Ashok Tandon, senior journalist, Siddharth Varadarajan, founding editor of the Wire.in, Professor Subrata Mukherjee, political analyst, and Vinod Sharma, political editor of the Hindustan Times. I'd like to start with Siddharth Varadarajan. Siddharth, please begin the show with what's likely to happen as far as the presidential polls are concerned. Do you believe that the united opposition is going to put up a brave front?
The outcome of the presidential election is without, there shouldn't be any uncertainty at all, Frank, because if you look at the history of presidential elections in India, never has a government failed to have its candidate, get elected. So the election of Mr. Kovind is a foregone conclusion. The numbers, even before his choice, his selection, were looking quite comfortable for the NDA. Even prior to any name having been finalized, please recall that the NDA, Mr. Modi, Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah had managed to win over the support of all the political parties from Andhra Pradesh, pretty much all the factions in Tamil Nadu, besides opening talks with the Biju Janata Dal. So I think that the numbers are pretty secure. The contest was always going to be a highly symbolic one for the opposition. And I would say that the opposition, which was going to lose anyway, because as I said, the numbers and past precedent clearly work in favor of the NDA, lost an opportunity to perhaps play their cards a little bit differently. I think had they managed to come up with a credible name before the BJP proposed Mr. Kovind, this might have allowed them to set the agenda somewhat, at least in terms of the public symbolism of the president and the president's office.
Right.
But their inability to do that and their inability to maintain a united front after the nomination of Mr. Kovind, and in particular with the selection of Madam Meera Kumar, suggests that this fight is not going to end very well for the opposition. It wasn't going to end well anyway because the NDA would win. But what little room for maneuver a nimble-footed opposition can extract from this process, I don't see that happening, quite frankly, to the Congress and the other parties.
Right.
They are divided and they will remain so, during this contest.
Fair enough. Professor Mukherjee, when the Grand Alliance won in Bihar, there was a lot of hype around it. Everyone said that this is the way to go forward. This is the way that, the BJP, we're going to bring down the BJP is what the opposition said at that point in time. But since then, all's not well within the Grand Alliance, because the JDU, if you go back to November after demonetization, Nitish Kumar praised Prime Minister Modi and praised the initiative. And even now, when we come to the presidential election, he has backed Ramnath Kovind and has not gone back on it in spite of pressure from his allies.
Well, for Nitish is the best of time, it's for the Lalu worst of the time. The autonomy that Nitish enjoys in Bihar politics today, I don't think any other chief minister has it. Because you see, Lalu cannot do without him. And it is also quite certain that he would not go back to the BJP, because his accommodation there in a similar position is very unlikely. Now, if you ask me what is his politics, I think politics is first to check Lalu and to continue the alliance in Bihar in his own terms, because he does not have the numbers of Lalu, but then he has a moral stature which is much more higher. And second, I think he is planning for a longer race, that 2019, if no party really gets the majority, which I think he is calculating on the basis of index of opposition unity being quite possible with a series of state elections and the optimality of the BJP victory last time. So, I think he thinks that if he is not the king, he can at least be the kingmaker.
Fair enough. All right. Very well analyzed there. Mr. Tandon, you know, in the plain sense of the word, opposition unity, do you believe that it really exists today?
See, opposition unity in today's politics has become a catchphrase. It has remained elusive as it was earlier and as it is today. See, let's look at it from the point of view of the presidential election. The 17 parties which came together at the initiative of Sonia Gandhi, many of them were probables for the presidential nominee, and they were hoping to get support from the Congress party, and so that they could be fielded as a candidate of the combined opposition. Now, Congress knew very well that why these people are coming to Sonia Gandhi, and they knew that they were actually seeking support. But, you know, if opposition unity was there in the real sense of the term, it could have been achieved only if the nominee was a non-Congress person. So, the left was floating the name of Gopal Krishna Gandhi, and there were other names also. Even Sharad Pawar, till the last moment, was trying to suggest to Congress that, well, opposition unity may be possible if it is a non-Congress candidate. But Congress, for obvious reasons, would not compromise its position, being the single largest opposition party today. Why should it concede the presidential nominee to a non-Congress person? And as a result of that, there has been no unity, and at the last moment, Congress fielded its own nominee, and that led to further divisions within the opposition ranks, so much so that on the day of the nomination, even Lalu Prasad Yadav was absent, Akhilesh was absent, so was Omar Abdullah was absent, Mayawati was absent. Leave aside Nitish, Mamta and Naveen Patnaik, they were not on board even otherwise, they did not attend the meeting. So, I think the presidential election was one opportunity where there was possibility of a common cause and an opposition unity, provided Congress has conceded the nominee to be a non-Congress person.
Sure.
I mean, even left till the last moment was suggesting Congress, well, if we have to fight Modi, we have to forget our own individual, ambition. But Congress refused to compromise, and I think Congress, from their point of view, were right. Why should they concede that position? The reason being that this particular presidential poll and the effort of an opposition unity was with an eye on the 2019 election. If in a pre-poll arrangement of a Mahagathbandhan, Congress compromises its position and come together under a non-Congress leader, the same experiment would have been sought to be repeated in 2019. The pressure on Congress this time was, well, if you could concede that position in Bihar,
right,
you could concede that position even in UP.
Yes.
Why can't you concede that position now? My feeling is there is a great realization within the Congress party that the alliance in Bihar was a mistake.
Okay.
Even the alliance in UP was a mistake.
Okay.
For a party like Congress, they must stick to their guns, and maybe that is the realization which has prevailed now, and therefore Congress, even for 2019, will not allow a Mahagathbandhan under the leadership of a non-Congress leader in a pre-poll alliance for 2019.
Sure, fair enough. Vinod Sharma, I'd like to bring you into the picture now. Would you look at it at the same way as a missed opportunity as far as the opposition is concerned?
I don't know. I have a different view on this. Opposition unity would remain elusive till the time there are voices from the ground for the opposition to unite. To mistake a united action in the presidential poll as opposition unity is a great fallacy. I mean, for the simple reason that Mr. Nitish Kumar has not broken the opposition unity. He's only tried to keep intact the vote base that he has so assiduously cultivated in Bihar of the non-Jatav Dalits. Let's get that clear. And there are no Jatavs in Bihar. So there was no incentive for him to be backing
Meera Kumar.
Meera Kumar. The Congress fielded Meera Kumar, a Jatav, against Mr. Ramnath Kovind, who's a Kori or a Kohli, whatever you want to call him. And how is it that the Shiva Sena has come on board? Because there is considerable number of Kori community even in Maharashtra and also in Gujarat. So I would concede to the BJP that they proved to be better social engineers than the Congress and the combined opposition, and by just presenting Mrs. Meera Kumar, whose credentials for presidential election, presidency can't be suspected, whatever people might say, because she has a wealth of experience. But it is basically the Jatav candidature of Meera Kumar brought Mayawati on board. Please understand that. Insofar as other smaller groupings are concerned, they will tend to go with the ruling party till the time the ruling party has a considerable period to rule at the center, because there are a whole lot of concerns that the state governments have that can be fulfilled by the center, and this phenomenon is most prominent in the northeast vis-a-vis the smaller states, and it is as much applicable to a state like Bihar that requires help from the center. Mr. Nitish Kumar took a position on demonetization to keep himself speckless clean on the question of fighting graft. He has a companionship of great benefit with Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav, but he is also aware that getting any closer to Lalu Prasad Yadav in popular perception could tell on his own image amongst the voters.
Right.
A. B. That he, on this question of Kohli and presidential candidate, he doesn't want to come across as blatantly adversarial vis-a-vis the center.
Sure.
So these are many factors that combine to make the tapestry, which is the presidential poll. But coming to actual voting, make no mistake, one has seen it happening in the vice presidential election when Mr. Bhairav Singh Shekhawat was the vice presidential candidature, and he got votes from cutting across party lines from his clansmen, that is the Thakur vote or the Rajput vote, he got from all political parties. And I wouldn't be surprised that if there is cross-voting happening even in these presidential elections, because the vote is confidential.
Yes.
And there is no anti-defamation law coming into play, and that is why there is a call to vote as per your conscience. You see, so it's a very interesting election, and we'll have to see how much vote the presidential candidate who wins gets eventually, and how much vote the loser gets eventually. And from that we'd know whether there has been any impact of the ideological call or the caste appeal or whatever.
Sure, fair enough. Yes, Mr. Tandon, you wanted to say something.
I just wanted to make a point about the Bihar politics, and I beg to differ with both of my co-panelists that Nitish Kumar has not gone in favor of Meera Kumar just because of the caste consideration. See, if you look at his statements coming for the last 6 months or so, he had already made up his mind to support NDA candidate this time around. I mean, going back, as you said, about demonetization also he supported. So it is nothing to do with the caste of the or the subcaste of the candidates. See, Nitish is not feeling comfortable in the company of Lalu Prasad Yadav ever since they have come together.
So are these messages then for the BJP, and will the BJP be happy to have him back in his fold?
See, if you look at the statements of KC Tyagi and of Sushil Modi in the last couple of days, it makes very clear. KC Tyagi goes to the extent of saying that our arrangement was much better with BJP as compared with the arrangement with Lalu Prasad Yadav. And what Sushil Modi is trying to say? Well, it is for Nitish to decide what kind of politics he wants to play in Bihar. Whether he wants to continue with the company of corrupt people, that means he is also sending out a message to Nitish, well, you will be welcome with NDA. And I have a feeling, the way things are going, the way Nitish is, trying to position himself. I will not even rule out Nitish breaking away from Lalu and coming back to the fold of NDA, because having established himself as a Bihar leader, if he accepts the leadership of Narendra Modi at the national level, I think the NDA
Mr. Sharma wants a quick counter
can
and then
come back.
I'm sorry, I mean, this repeated attempt at presenting the BJP as the one aquaguard of Indian politics, you know, that whatever impure water goes in comes out pure. What about Vaishekar Jagannath Reddy in Hyderabad? I mean, he was permitted a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister and for his support for the presidential candidature. So I think that let us not overplay or overemphasize that Lalu Yadav is the worst tainted politician in this country, and Mr. Jagannath Reddy, when he comes in any degree of contact with the BJP, gets purified instantly. I mean, in politics, you know, it is the art of the possible, and whatever suits someone would be done by that person. And Mr. Nitish Kumar, his first priority is to keep his electoral base intact and reinforce it in whatever way possible. And if he chooses to align with the BJP, then he should be willing to have a big crack in that electoral base, which is not as big without the support of the minorities in Bihar. And minorities are not in any small numbers there.
Sure. Mr. Varadarajan, I'd like to bring you to the picture now and come back to focus on our topic at the moment. You know, a lot has been said about how several of these political parties in the opposition have their own agendas, you know, have their own political interests. So, considering all of that, how can there be unity?
Well, unity can happen for a variety of reasons whenever you have coincidence of interest. For example, it's not difficult to imagine, say in a state like Odisha, where the BJP is making inroads and emerging as the principal challenger to the Biju Janata Dal, that by 2019, the BJD may well want to reach some kind of accommodation with the Congress if the two parties agree that BJP is the primary threat. So I think that in every state you have factors that are working for or against political unity of one kind or the other. I'm not entirely convinced by Tandonji's rationale or reasoning about what's unfolding in Bihar. I think we are still trying to decode what Mr. Nitish Kumar's support for Ramnath Kovindji is all about. I would not rule out the easy explanation, which is that having endorsed his candidature, it becomes very hard for him to then withdraw and say, I'll back Meera Kumar because she's also a Dalit from Bihar. That's not necessarily the way that politics at that level works. So I would be wary of looking at the JDU's stand on this election as a sign that the Mahagathbandhan's time is up and that Nitish Kumar and the BJP are going to join hands again. I think there are lots of complexities in Bihar and in national politics, and we are still rather far away from 2019 for us to make predictions of that kind. So I think, you know, the presidential election has come in some ways at an opportune time for the Congress and the opposition, because the next general election is still 2 years away, and they now have a better sense of the kind of complexity that stitching a grand coalition at the national level will involve. The failure, you know, Tandonji is quite right that the Congress's inability to countenance a non-Congress presidential candidate who would really have, you know, I think altered the playing field at some level and made the task of the BJP that much more difficult. You know, the Congress's inability to go down that route and the fact that now they have suffered a setback at some level. Perhaps this is a lesson that the Congress will learn as it proceeds to build its strategy for 2019. But I think that, you know, this is really a way stop in the road to the opposition strategy. We still don't know how certain other imponderables can be resolved. For example, the fact that the BSP and Samajwadi at the state level in Uttar Pradesh are always daggers drawn, or the Trinamool Congress and the left in West Bengal again are irreconcilable. You have in a state like Tripura the BJP now making serious inroads and wanting to take on the left as primary challenger. So I think if you look at each state contest, you have dynamism there, you have uncertainty at state level politics. So to predict what shape national politics and what kind of agglomerations are going to fight each other in 2019, today may be a little bit early to be definitive about this.
Sure, fair enough. Mr. Tandon, your name was brought up quite often, you know, in what Siddharth Varadarajan just said. Do you want a quick counter, and then I'll move on to the professor?
No. I think what Siddharth Varadarajan was saying was, see, that is a reality. See, all the deliberations which took place in the opposition camp in the last couple of weeks, these things were very obvious. That why should not Congress, you know, make the unity as the real point, rather than keeping their own prestige in front of it, and that is why the unity could not be seen there. But see, I will not be batting for the Congress, but looking at the Congress history, the party more than 100 years old. Why should they concede any position?
Sure.
For the sake of opposition unity? As I said, there is a great realization within the Congress that the Bihar experiment, where they got 25 seats, but what is their position? What is their clout in Bihar government? And similar mistake was committed in Uttar Pradesh, and what is the result?
And that is not acceptable, or should not be acceptable to the
Rather
Congress.
than that, if they had fought the UP election on their own, and even if they had not won the seats which they... see, perhaps party could have taken a position that we are the principal opposition, we will not concede the ground. And perhaps that is what they have done this time during the presidential election. Forget about the opposition. We will see what happens in 2019, but we will not concede that position to any regional party or a non-Congress leader.
Fair enough. I'll come to you, Mr. Sharma, but let me bring in the professor into the picture as well. You know, Professor, apart from being anti-BJP, is there any other common ground that the opposition really has?
I think Meera Kumar is trying to build on it. You see, if you really look to that, her position is that it's an ideological battle, and in that kind of a context, she has provided a framework in the context of something like the basic structure of the Constitution, and how it is important that even a symbolic fight is important because the process itself is political. So, in that context, I think it is an attempt to bring the Congress system back. You know, Congress was always successful when it was an umbrella party, whether it was Gandhi's time and it is Nehru's time. Unfortunately, Mrs. Gandhi, you know, thought that she could go beyond that, and that led to the decline of the Congress. So, in a way, they're trying to revive it. Now, second point, I think is a very important point, that looking to the politics in India today, symbolism and identity politics has been proved to be very inadequate in winning elections. So, there are to be national formations, and if there is a NDA, you will have to have a UPA. In that kind of a context, I think Congress is playing a calculated game, and the regional parties, which are also very strong, like Mamata Banerjee, they also know that 2019 we will have to have a different kind of a partnership, and there the balance between the regional and the states and the center is to be worked out. But then it requires a long preparation, and you know, 2 years is not a very long period, because as I told you, there is a number of state elections.
Sure.
And that will really indicate the which way the wind is blowing. And in that kind of a context, I think the contest is still wide open.
Fair enough. Yes, Mr. Sharma, you wanted to add a point.
No, you see, one thing, let's get one thing very clear. The president has to be of the choice of the prime minister. That is what the Constitution has willed, the spirit of the Constitution. And but the opposition should ensure that he shouldn't be a puppet of the prime minister, and the ruling party should ensure that he should not be an adversary of the prime minister. You see, that is the contest actually. That is actually the dynamics of the presidential contest, where a party has a complete majority in the Lok Sabha and is ruling most of the states. So let us get that clear, A. B, you see, in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, there is a contest between Chandrababu Naidu and KCR to be seen closer to the Prime Minister. And you get, therefore, a easy support from the regional party. When you are ruling at the center, you are winning the election. The only mystery is by what proportion are you winning the elections. And coming to the Congress, Congress must get its social arithmetic right. I am not saying, I mean, you may dismiss it as vote bank politics, but what does the BJP do all the while? BJP does the same thing, and the BJP has done a deft thing this time. Many learned television anchors have called it a master stroke. It's not a master stroke by BJP standards. It's the soft stroke. It is the soft stroke that has helped it bring people outside the NDA on board. Please understand that.
True.
It is a soft stroke. Had it been, for instance, somebody like Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, whose name was floated and it was immediately denied, or some other variety of the candidature, there would have been a strong unit, because the moral content would have gone out of any support to the presidential candidature of the BJP.
Indeed.
So it was a soft stroke which helped the BJP win the day for itself.
I've got one final minute left on the program, so I'd like to bring in Siddharth Varadarajan, and talk about what next really as far as the opposition is concerned.
Well, I think the immediate battle, of course, will be the vice presidential race, which both the BJP and the opposition are bound to also look at as an important contest. But going beyond these two symbolic contests, I think the opposition really needs to sort itself out at the state, at state by state. It's one thing to nurture ambitions of a grand political alliance at the national level, which I suppose if they're serious of dislodging the BJP, they need to work on for 2019. But unless the opposition, either acting singly or as a combination of parties, is able to come up with credible state-level initiatives to deal with the challenge from the BJP, I'm afraid at the national level, these initiatives, or with the best of intentions, I don't think the opposition is really going to be able to manage much. So I think the emphasis has to be at the state level.
Sure.
Each individual party, which at one point used to be strong, needs to focus on nurturing its own state level leaderships. You have to have internal democracy in the party. You have to have less of this kind of top-down culture, both within each individual party and in terms of alliance building. And in the absence of that, I'm afraid the quest for opposition unity will remain rather elusive, by 2019.
All right. On that note, we'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Siddharth Varadarajan, Subrata Mukherjee, Vinod, Sharma and Ashok Tandon, thank you so much for joining us on the program, putting things into perspective for us. That's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for watching.